You know, I've never seen a sitar that close up. You know, maybe afterwards you'll let us take a look at it, but what a beautiful instrument. Thank you so much. Wow. That was beautiful, thank you. So how is everybody? Excellent. Today we are beginning our November series on gratitude as we enter this month of Thanksgiving. The perfect month to talk about gratitude. I said last week that we were going to embark on 30 days of gratitude, and we are. Next week, I'm going to talk about gratitude practices. So what I invite you to do over the week is think about what some of your gratitude practices are. Because, yes, Chris is waving the abundance card. You can take a look at that. But there are also lots of different gratitude practices that people have. Because I am, as you know, a techno-goober, I got on the App Store and typed in gratitude, and literally like 10 things popped up. I have a gratitude app on my phone. Seriously.
Yes.
So there's lots out there. So we're going to talk about that next week, and I'm going to ask some of you what some of your practices are to remind yourself of the benefits of gratitude in your life. So today I want to talk generally about gratitude, not so much as gratitude for things given, but gratitude as a way of life. How do we live gratefully every moment? How, as our reading from Thomas Merton taught us, do we live in the experience of gratitude? Do we live from our hearts gratefully every moment? Not just the abstract belief that we should be grateful for things that we have been given, because there's a difference. Our goal is to live every moment gratefully. We know that living gratefully promotes happiness, health, and well-being. I mean, those are clinical findings. You can get on the Google and type in benefits of gratitude, and all sorts of studies come up that grateful people are simply happier. They report fewer physical symptoms, such as headaches, stomach aches, nausea, even acne. Not making that up. So tell your teenagers to be grateful. Yes. And if you want to be fit, grateful people apparently spend more time exercising. Who knew? Jeannie's back there laughing. Yes, they do. Yes, ma'am. And the more a person is inclined toward gratitude, the less lonely, the less stressed, anxious, or depressed he or she will be. How many of us have experienced that? Hello? Yes, we do. We know that. We know that, as Merton teaches, from actual experience. The other thing gratitude does, as we're talking about why be grateful, well, we know that, but one of the things gratitude does is it drives us into the present. I know for a fact that if I am feeling grateful, I cannot at the same time be feeling worried about the future. I cannot be feeling angry. I cannot be feeling stressed. You can't be experiencing gratitude in your heart and experience any negative emotion. Can you? I'm now going to give you 10 seconds to try it. Go ahead. Go. Any successes out there? No, because you can't. When you are feeling grateful, all those negative thoughts are gone. And not even the negative thoughts. The negative emotions are gone. Your energy is lifted. Your heart is open. That is the benefit of experiencing gratitude. It drives out negative emotions such as fear, anger, or anxiety. Eckhart Tolle teaches, it is through gratitude for the present moment that the spiritual dimension of life opens up. Don't you find that to be true? When we are experiencing gratitude, our hearts open, our horizons open, our eyes open to wonders that are around us that we may not have noticed before. One of my resources in preparing for this talk was Brother David Steindl-Rast's book, Gratefulness, the Heart of Prayer. I encourage you to take a look at it and read it. It is a wonderful book. For those of you, is anybody here familiar with the work of Brother David Steindl-Rast? I know Chris is because she lent me this book. Anybody else? He is a wonderful resource. He has a website, gratefulness.org. He's a Benedictine monk who was born in 1926 in Austria, and before he emigrated to the U.S. in the early 50s, he went through World War II. He experienced the Nazi Anschluss in Vienna before he managed to emigrate. In 1953, He joined a newly founded Benedictine community in Elmira, New York, of which he's still a member. Several years later, he was sent by his abbot to participate in Buddhist-Christian dialogue. He has a very strong interfaith element. He co-founded the Center for Spiritual Studies in 1968, and he received the 1975 Martin Buber Award for his efforts in building bridges between faith traditions. So I encourage you to look him up. His name is David Steindl Rast, and I'll have this book out there for you to look at after the talk while we're having coffee and healthy donuts. His June 2013 TED Talk, I also encourage you to look at. It's called Want to Be Happy? Be Grateful. And what he teaches is what we all know. It's not that happy people are grateful, it's that grateful people are happy. Gratitude just makes you happy. It leads you into happiness and joy. Brother David calls gratefulness, quote, the spontaneous response of the human heart to the gratuitously given. The spontaneous response of the human heart to the gratuitously given. Just think about that for a second. To the gratuitously given. He further writes that everything we have is gratuitously given. That's the secret to living in gratitude, realizing that all we have is the result of grace, gratuitously given to us in every moment. He writes, what counts on your path to fulfillment is that we remember the great truth that moments of surprise want to teach us. Everything is gratuitous. Everything is a gift. The degree to which we are awake to this truth is the measure of our gratefulness. Do we find that to be true? When we wake up to the surprise of the gifts surround us, he writes that an essential component of gratitude is the willingness to be surprised. Like children. Aren't we taught that we all need to approach life with the wonder and the openness of little children? It's the surprise, the wonder that everything is a gift of God. The bounty around us and the unexpected goodness that just shows up. The example he gives is a rainbow, or a flower, or a bird. And you know what that made me think of? It made me think of the rainbow we had at Shallowford right before we left. Who remembers that? Yeah. Who remembers that? Okay, let's talk about that. Remember that? It was our last service in the building, or it was a party, or it was something. And somebody ran outside and said, my God, there's a rainbow over the building. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And I see your faces. That's the energy we had. It was like, wow. We were all of a sudden 10 years old. Everyone's rushing out with their iPhones to take a picture of that wonder, that rainbow over our community. Do you remember that? It was like a sign that we were going to be just wonderful. And that's the way we took it. It was a gratuitously given miracle. And that's the energy in which we took it. Our happiness and our gratefulness increase when we realize that every step of our journey is a gratuitous gift just like that. Now, we can ask ourselves, does that mean that we have to live life in a sense of wonder, with a sense of openness? And I thought about this yesterday. I thought, because we have jobs, we have kids, we have things that make us serious, that make us grown up. We can't just go through life with a sense of wonder and joy. And then I thought, why not? Why not? How wonderful would it be if we could, even in those moments when we just manage to do it, when we just manage to stop and breathe and say, this moment is a gift. Let's just breathe in it and revel in it. There is nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make us any less of a grown-up, does it? That is the secret to living in gratitude. Taking nothing for granted, realizing that everything is a matter of grace. Gratitude also is not the same as entitlement. I did a little bit of reading and I came across this great story about the difference between gratitude and entitlement. Take a little kid and give him a chocolate bar in the middle of July. He will be, oh my God, this is great. I got this chocolate bar in the middle of July for nothing. And then give him one last night, which was Halloween. He'll just go in the bag, great, let's keep moving. because he was entitled to that chocolate bar. It's just an attitude with which you look at the gifts you're given. In July, it's unexpected. On Halloween, it's not as good as the last one I got. It's all a question of how we look at it. Gratitude also is not limited to being thankful for a gift that you have just received. It's an attitude of the heart that enriches us to be willing to see the good even in things that have not yet come. And that's the secret to living gratefully. Not just being grateful for what we've been given, but being open to the fact that wonders are coming our way. In the 4 Gospels in the Christian Bible, there are 24 instances in which Jesus prays in public. Half of them are prayers of thanksgiving. One example is the story of feeding the 4,000. You all remember that story? In Matthew 15:32. Then Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I have compassion for the crowd, because they have been with me now for 3 days, and they have nothing to eat. And I do not want to send them away hungry, for they might faint on the way. And the disciples said to him, what are we going to get enough bread in the desert to feed so great a crowd? Okay, these are the guys full of common sense. These are the grown-ups in the crowd, because they see 4,000 people, and they know that the Kroger's is not right there. They're thinking, we have a bit of a problem. They are thinking lack. Jesus looked at them and said, how many loaves do you have? And they said 7 and a few small fish. So there, Jesus, make that a miracle. This will never work out. Jesus ordered the crowd to sit down. He took the 7 loaves and the fish, and what's the first thing he did? He gave thanks. He gave thanks. 4,000 people, 7 loaves and a few fish. He gives thanks for what he knows, the abundance he knows is going to be coming. He broke the bread and the fish, and he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds, and there was food left over. Those who had eaten were 4,000 men, besides women and children. So what did Jesus do? He recognized the essential truth that thanks and gratitude multiplies the abundance coming our way. He knew that God's abundance surrounded them, and he gave thanks, knowing that it would appear and meet their needs. He knew that the good was to come. That's how we live gratefully. We give thanks even if it has not yet manifested. I don't know about you, but often in my life, I have waited until I saw what was coming before I decided if I wanted to be grateful. I reserved the right to be ungrateful if I didn't like it. Has anyone else done that? Maybe. Gay says maybe. Maybe. Who's been there when I've done that? That is not living in gratitude. That is hopscotching from event to event, keeping it to yourself to decide if you want to be grateful for what happens. But the problem is, we don't know. We don't know what gifts are coming. That is just arrogance. That is not living in gratitude. I know what makes me happy now. I know what makes me avoid pain now. But do I know what gifts a particular event is going to bring? Do I know what gifts a particular course, a particular path might bring? I really don't. Because sometimes I can't see over those horizons. Many of us now are going through very stressful and difficult times, and we don't know how it's going to turn out. We don't. But the secret to getting through it, the secret to living gratefully and in joy, even in tough times, is being thankful for the lessons we are learning, for the healing that we know is coming our way, even if events don't always turn out like we hope they will, like we think they should. What we are doing is we are exercising our power of choice. We see hope. We see courage when we might as well just give in to fear, to darkness. That is not living gratefully. That is not following the path of knowledge, that we know that God is all there is. I find, and this is, I've had cause to think about this, because you guys know that I have been going through a tough time with the death of my mother and various other things, but it has been a time for me when I have to cling more closely to my spiritual practices, because they get me through it. What is it Reverend Annette always said? Practice when it's easy, so it's easy when it's hard. Remember? She's entirely right. Gratitude has helped me walk through those difficult moments, in part because it gives them meaning. If I am grateful for the lessons that I am learning, if I am grateful for God being present in my life, even in the times of darkness and fear and sorrow, it gives them a depth that they would not otherwise have. It gives me something to hope for, that the light will still come on. I'm not just wallowing in darkness and sorrow. I know that God is there, that this is happening for a reason, that He is showing me something. Sometimes I can only say the prayer, show what needs to be shown and heal what needs to be healed. And I am grateful for whatever it is. And it gives me a courage and a strength that I don't know where it comes from, but it just is there, that I would not have otherwise. Gratitude reminds us that we are never separate from God, even when we are surrounded by such darkness. All we have to do is reach out and realize that there is a light which always overcomes the darkness. Don't you know that to be true? We have to be willing to realize the good even if we don't see it. And that is what gratitude does. The question, where is God in this, is one that makes every interaction an opportunity for grace and an opportunity for growth. As William Arthur Ward said, gratitude can transform common days into thanksgivings, turn routine jobs into joy, and change ordinary opportunities into blessings. It's all how you look at it. And in this community, we know that for a fact. It's all how you approach, how you choose to approach the events in your life. I see members of this community every day choosing courage, choosing joy, choosing to know that the good is there, that God is in there somewhere, even if they have to wait and see it. Even when they call out, they hear nothing back. The certainty that we are held in the light is what gives us the courage to keep going. I know that for me. In these last few weeks, that is what has given me the courage to keep going. It confirms that we are not victims. It confirms that we have a choice, that we are co-creators in the experiences that happen to us. We are sick, but we choose to see the good. We are in fear, but we know that that will change. We connect with Source. We go into our heart space where fear does not dwell, where courage and strength and light continue to support us. We give thanks for the lessons we are learning, for the opportunity to comfort others, for the opportunity to support others, for the healing we know is to come, even if it is not there yet. Marcus Cicero taught, gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all the others. That is really true. Every talk that you are going to hear from this pulpit, it seems to me, teach that the spiritual practice starts with gratitude, with knowing that we live in the flow of grace, even when we sometimes don't feel it. When we feel it, when things are going well, we don't have to tap into it because things are going well. It's when things are not going well that a life and a knowledge lived gratefully, that's when that matters, when we have to tap into that well and know that God is with us. Gratitude leads us to places to understanding that nothing else does. It opens our hearts, our awareness, our eyes. It imbues us with courage, joy, and grace. So as we go through this week, let's think about the practices that we use to keep gratitude front and center in our lives. I know that many of us use gratitude journals. I know that immediately after this service, you're all going to go download gratitude apps. Another thing I found, and we should try this week, another thing I found is the benefits of expressing gratitude to others. Saying to another soul, I am grateful for you, like Judy Teaches did. That has amazing power. Sometimes we'll just hold gratitudes in our heart and we'll say, I'm grateful for X or I'm grateful for Y. There is nothing like saying it or writing it. I learned about, as I was getting ready for this talk, I learned about gratitude visits. Going to people and just saying, I just want you to know I'm really grateful for what you've done. Or letters or emails. So as we move into this week, let's think about those practices that we can employ to keep the joy of living gratefully front and center. Let's take these thoughts into meditation.